Hey, welcome everybody to the Chicago Bears recap. We're going to be doing a few things with our regular guest Stevie Push from Shy City Sports, Dhruv Cole from Sports Mockery. I am your host, Michael Halatek. I'm going to start the show off with something a little different. A week ago, Wednesday, I lost my best friend and biggest fan of this show. She was my dog, named after Walter Payton. Peyton was 10 and a half years old, and she died pretty suddenly from liver cancer. So she was always with me. She was sitting, as you look at the screen, she was sitting on the right of your screen with me for every podcast, every Bears football game when I'm down in this room. And as on the other side where the TV is, I have a wall with Bears memorabilia and autographed jerseys and Cubs and Blackhawks. And as you can see there on the left is her urn, and she has a permanent place to stay on my Bears wall. So I'm going to dedicate this show to my best friend, Peyton, who would have been 11 years old in October. And to the show, compliments of Stevie. I promised him I'd put this up. He's smiling in the background. So without further ado, Stevie Push, Dhruv Cole. Good evening, gentlemen. How is everybody?
Good to see you guys. Good to be back.
How's it going, guys?
Can you hear us, Dhruv?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's
okay, because your connection's a little spotty there. But all right, so hey, camp is underway. We had a huge off season, so a lot of fun things happened. So first thing first, let's recap. I've got a few slides. Chris Williams, Kyler Gordon, TJ Edwards, both signed to 2 and 3 year extensions, respectively. Case Keenum was added to the quarterback room. Bill Murray came back. There's Daniel Hardy came back. So it's a lot of interesting moves that took place over the offseason, and we haven't even gotten to the big ones. Travis Homer came back. Devin Duvernay is going to be primarily our returner. So now we got some of the heavyweights. Dayo Odeyingbo came on board. Drew Dahlman, probably the most coveted offensive lineman in the entire offseason, came to the Bears. Alameda Zacchaeus came over from Washington. Doug Kramer re-signed. Scott Daly signed. And then we have Jonah Jackson and Joe Tooney to anchor the offensive line at guard on either side of Dahlman. Grady Jarrett, a huge sign for the defensive line. Swayze Bozeman, Gerald Everett was released. So was DeMarcus Walker. Josh Blackwell got a 2-year extension, as did I don't even know who that linebacker is. Got a 2-year extension. So those were some key moves this offseason. Dhruv, what is your...
Drew might have dropped. I'm not seeing him on the screen.
Oh, where'd he go?
There he is.
Hey, guys. I jumped on my phone.
I think that was my fault. Dhruv, what was your thoughts about all of those moves? We haven't even gotten to the draft yet.
You know, overall, I think the Bears did a good job of putting themselves into, since we haven't gotten to the draft yet, at the time, kind of go best player available. I think it was pretty clear they did that with their first, 2-3 draft picks that they had, in the early rounds and certainly later on. And, I think it was great that they kind of went in and intentionally attacked key needs, right? Offensive line. They didn't wait for the market to, become this open auction with guys like Will Fries and, Ryan Kelly and folks. They traded for established players, strong vets, people that, knew Ben Johnson's system and Jonah Jackson, et cetera, right? So very intentional, very well executed plan. They got better in pretty much every category. I really like the approach, the execution, and assuming good health. I mean, they're certainly a better roster than last year. And yeah, I'm excited for it.
Stevie, your thoughts?
I've been very critical of Ryan Poles. I was very critical of him after this past 24 season. I really loved what they did, fixing the biggest need for this team in the offensive line. And, we were waiting for what they were going to do. We thought they were going to go after a different Kansas City Chiefs offensive guard who was franchise tagged, and everyone freaked out. But then they traded for Joe Thuney. They traded for Jackson, and most importantly, they finally resolved the center position, which has long plagued the Chicago Bears well before Ryan Poles. So via free agency, I really liked what they did. The Grady Jarrett signing was really big. I loved it because it was one of those moves that, heading into free agency, you're like, okay, do we really need a defensive tackle? Javon Dexter showed us something. Andrew Billings showed us something when he was healthy. But, when they made the sign, it's like, hey, this actually makes a lot of sense with that type of player in Jarrett. There are going to be some other things I'm going to be highlighting more so that with the free agency that weren't addressed in the draft, but we'll save that for, I'll save that for later.
Okay, great. Well, speaking of the draft, let's recap what they did with their 8 picks overall. Colston Loveland was a little bit of a surprise to a lot of people because of the Penn State tight end was still on the board. But Colston Loveland had a tremendous season at Michigan. And he finally got cleared to practice, so he's starting to work his way into camp already. Luther Burden, by many accounts, should have been a first-round draft choice. He had a terrible year compared to what he did in 23, and of course he just signed. He was the last draft choice of the Bears to finally ink his deal. Ozzie Trapillo is already fighting for a starting position at left tackle. Shamar Turner, I guess he tweaked his ankle on yesterday, so he's a little bit gimpy, but everybody has high hopes for him. Ruben Hippolyte, noted for his speed. Ben Johnson is really impressed with his speed. Zay Frazier, who was excused from camp for personal reasons yesterday. I don't know if he was back in the lineup today or not. Josh Newman, I guess a offensive lineman, primarily going to be a depth piece. And then Kyle Monagai, who many think was an absolute steal because he lasted all the way to the pick number 233. Stevie, we'll start with you and give us what was your grade for their draft?
I'll give it like I said before, there are things I really like and things I really didn't like about this draft. I'll give it a B-. I wasn't high on Colston Loveland until the last few days before the draft. Dhruv, I have to thank you for that. because I was pounding the table for Tyler Warren if Ashton Genty wasn't going to be there. The way I saw it, I felt that Tyler Warren was going to be a red zone slash absolute matchup nightmare due to his size and speed ratio. And I thought, hey, you know what? Give Caleb Williams that 50-50, go up and just dominate guy, which Tyler Warren is. But the value in Colston Loveland is that he's a more complete tight end. He fits Ben Johnson's offense. Ben Johnson loves to run the two tight end sets. Having him and Cole Kmet, they complement each other so much that I'm very excited to see what the two of them can do together. I love the Luther Burden pick. Another move that when it happened, you're like, okay, why are we taking a wide receiver? And then you realize, hey, we needed a wide receiver, and you're getting the best wide receiver, someone that was supposed to be a first-round draft pick. I love the Trapillo and Newman picks just because you have young guys that could sit and watch. I like the 7th-round running back, but the problem that I have with it is two things that they didn't address in free agency and they didn't address this entire offseason was the running back position and defensive end position. They signed Dio, but I'm kind of snake bitten on journeyman defensive end signed by Ryan Poles because of what transpired with outwitting Muhammad and DeMarcus Walker, two defensive ends that were signed to be a mid-tier, second or third reliable pass rusher that didn't really provide much. There were options to go defensive end in the draft, and same thing with running back. And the Bears can say that they were high on. I'm gonna butcher his name, the running back. Help me out, Monagai. But the problem is, yes, Monagai. The problem is that they were in for Travion Henderson. Once he was off the board, they traded back. In the 4th round, they were in on Cam Scavo because the second Scavo was off the board. They traded back. It shows me that they didn't have the guys that they wanted there. And, you could be high on a guy all you want, but the fact
we lost Stevie. There he
were
is.
taken before the guys that
you're cutting in and out, Stevie.
Yeah, Steven.
Dhruv, take over. Take over.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really did like the Colston Loveland pick right away. Highest upside, was already a good high floor player in college. I think the shoulder injury was probably what put some fans out on him because, he's an injured guy, blah, blah, blah. But the dude is a really, really good prospect. And so I'm very excited for him. I really liked Luther Burden. I was a little bummed that they weren't able to get either Ashton Genty or Travion Henderson, like we talked about, like Stevie talked about. But, I really like the Burden pick. He's a playmaker. He's very dynamic. He's different from what, they have otherwise at the position and DJ Moore and Roma Dunze and, Olamide Zacchaeus. So I really do like, some of that investment. Plus, next year's wide receiver crop is not very high, or not very good. So at least from what I've seen so far. So, getting a high upside player, a 1st-round talent in the 2nd round in Burden it was a great idea. I did prefer Ariante Ursary from a left tackle position over maybe someone like Ozzie Trapillo, but I don't have an issue with Trapillo at all. He's a perfectly good prospect and seemingly a very solid prospect in the 2nd round. Shamar Turner was good defensive line depth. I really like the Kyle Monangai pick, even though I do wish they had just addressed running back a little bit earlier. I don't have an issue with him at all. Overall, the only draft pick that I questioned really at the time, maybe two. One was Ruben Hippolyte, the other was Zay Frazier, mainly because cornerback depth I did not think was necessarily pressing, and he's an older prospect. And then Hippolyte was, mainly I'd never heard of him before the draft. So that was kind of my main, who the hell is this guy? But, I went back and watched a little bit of each guy after they were drafted. And I see it. I mean, I understand the high-end ball skills, the speed of someone like Frazier, and then Hippolyte. The dude can fly. He can blitz. He seems to have some really good instincts. And yeah, I get that he wasn't necessarily high on some of those pre-draft boards. In some cases, he wasn't even drafted. In some cases, but he seems like a good player. Seems like he has all the physical traits that you would want in a linebacker prospect. And even though it's not necessarily a quote unquote coveted position anymore, replacing someone like Jack Sanborn with essentially a higher upside version of Jack Sanborn in theory, I like it. So, overall, maybe not the most satisfying draft from a names perspective, but it wasn't necessarily a super high end draft anyway. But I think they got some really good pieces. Either some solid to really good starters in the high end upper part of the draft, and then some really good depth later on in the draft. So overall, I'd probably give it a solid B, maybe B plus.
Awesome. We had a little issue coming into camp with some soft tissue problems, primarily with Jaylon Johnson and, of course, Luther Burden. I think Ben Johnson was hoping that Burden would have been ready to go yesterday. Unfortunately, he wasn't. There was a film on X of him working out inside the Peyton Center alone. But I don't know if either of you guys saw it, but it looked like he was running in slow motion. But hopefully he'll be out there soon. I guess Jaylon Johnson is going to be kind of incapacitated for a couple of weeks at least, if not longer. But when it comes to Jaylon Johnson, I know when the lights go on, he's going to be ready. So, what were your thoughts? We'll go back, Stevie. Hopefully, your connection is back and better now. But
I'm back, but I'm having some issues. So if it drops, it drops. So from what I've seen through camp, yeah, the Jaylon Johnson thing, we could say that, hey, we don't have to worry about it, but those preseason injuries can always be they've lingered before. Because remember 2004 with Lovie Smith, we were told Brian Urlacher was going to be fine come regular season. They had a lot of guys that had soft tissue injuries that were going to be fine, and then 04 was a wash because you had X amount of guys that couldn't finish the season, including your best defensive player. Luther Burden, that the injury does worry me a little bit because he's the one guy I really want to get on the field and get as much work with that offense as possible, because I know Colson Loveland is going to be the tight end that's going to be featured in Ben Johnson's offense, or the tight end that's going to be the biggest attributor to the offense. But given the passing offense, Luther Burden fills a slot wide receiver need that this team really needs. They also need they need a true deep threat, which they didn't have last year because yes. Caleb Williams did struggle with the deep ball, but they really didn't have that like lights out speed burner. Roma Jones, they can go deep, but he's more of a go up and get it 30 yards down the field, win a 50-50 battle. So that the Luther Burden stuff really does concern me because I want him to get as much time.
Whoops. What Stevie was trying to say, and I think I can speak for him here, is we need Burden on the field, getting the reps in. So come week one, they're like this. They're like this, but with Caleb and Luther, and he knows where to be and when to be there when it comes time to for the lights to go on against Minnesota. Which is less than 7 weeks away now. So that's exciting. In fact, we are 1 week away from the first game. The Pro Football Hall of Fame game is 1 week from tonight. And 6 weeks from tonight is opening night, baby. Philadelphia. I forgot who Philadelphia is playing to open the season on Thursday night.
Yep.
The
What was
Dallas
that?
Cowboys.
Yeah.
The Cowboys. So, man, we're 6 weeks away from rocking and rolling, and I, for one, can't wait. Hey, Coach Ben Johnson, yesterday. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old saying, spare the rod and spoil the child. He definitely did not spare the rod when it came to the offense having problems lining up. So what were your thoughts, Dhruv, about Ben Johnson yanking the entire first string offense off the field after they had a couple of errors in getting lined up properly? I thought it was great.
I fucking love it, man. It's the kind of accountability that, it's day one of camp, and the team was either ill prepared or didn't know what they were doing or something. But these are timed practices. You don't have two-a-days anymore. There's a lot of changes that have gone into the way camps are run, and not to mention he's a first-time head coach with a bunch of kind of new coaches. Everyone's trying to install everything at the same time for the first time, and they don't have time to waste. So, and he explained it today. He basically said, I don't have time to wait around waiting for the first team offense to get their shit together. I gotta go. And so, one mistake, okay. Second mistake, people aren't lined up, don't know what they're doing. Get out. I love it, because this is the kind of stuff that you don't, like I said, don't waste time. B, it's embarrassing for the first team offense for that to happen in front of all the reporters and everything, and they know they're going to be asked about it. And it's the kind of thing that drives accountability and drives the inner desire to improve. And that's what this team has been missing. They've, for far too long, they've had the oh, you'll get him next time, buddy, don't worry, that kind of coaching treatment, and that just it doesn't instill the kind of fire that is needed to get things done at a detailed level. So I loved it. It's exactly the kind of thing that they've been needing. And man, I tell you, every time I watch Ben Johnson in a press conference, I'm just like, dude, you're awesome. He's awesome. So we'll see what happens when they start losing games, and we'll see if he kind of keeps that same composure and stuff. All it takes is a week or two of losing to, to have a change in kind of attitude and stuff. But so far, I cannot complain one bit about Ben Johnson.
Blasphemy! What do you mean start losing? They're winning the Super Bowl this year, right? It's funny because Kevin Byard actually talked about that today. He said, we're building something here. We want to win championships, and it starts today. And the guys that are in this room right now want to be a part of a winning tradition, because I got to tell you, they're tired of losing, just like the fans are tired of watching them lose. I want to just take a minute to tell our audience, please, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe. It'll help our logarithms get our message out to more Chicago Bear fans. Dennis Allen isn't holding back either. On the first day of camp, I guess he made the entire defensive unit do burpees in 98-degree heat in Lake Forest, and I guess they had to do 40 of them. And a couple guys said, "What is this? Is this high school punishment?" But everybody complied. And then a strange occurrence happened. They cut somebody, and I don't have his name in front of me, from the defensive side of the ball. And they literally brought him back yesterday, but he wasn't there for the burpees. So the entire defensive unit gathered around him and cheered him on while he had to do his 40 burpees to be compliant with everything that's going on. Stevie, I'm excited. We haven't had this kind of, in 2018, when they started winning a bunch of games in a row and then ended up making the playoffs. I had the pleasure of being at the Green Bay game in December where they clinched the division, and then of course after the first playoff game, the game against the Eagles was the beginning of the end for Coach Nagy, because they literally they tanked right after that. So I can't. I was cautiously optimistic last year, even though it was Coach Eberflus's what turned out to be, he didn't even finish the year and became historic. He became historic because he's the only head coach this franchise has ever fired during a season, and then we got Ben Johnson, and make no mistake, Ben Johnson wasn't chosen by the Bears. Ben Johnson chose to come to the Bears. It was his, and I couldn't be happier for what we're seeing from the coaching staff. And by all accounts, every single account that I've read on X, every player is falling in line and singing the same tune.
And they have to, because of what transpired with Matty Eberflus and what transpired after Matty Eberflus was fired. Because, we could say all we want about Matty Eberflus, but there are two parts of the 2024 season. What Matty Eberflus did after the failed Mary against Washington, and then what happened with the rest of the team after they fired Eberflus the day after Thanksgiving. Because everyone in Chicago thought, okay, you know what? Matty Eberflus is out. We're going to San Francisco. We got 10 days off to prepare for San Francisco. San Francisco had to make a cross-country journey to play Sunday night in crappy weather against the Buffalo Bills. And then, it's a perfect game for the Bears. Bears got blown out. They looked like they didn't know. They had no interest in playing that game. They looked like they had no interest in playing against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. Same thing for Detroit the following week. And, the biggest thing for me was, my biggest takeaway was that it was like, hey, was Matty Eberflus really the cultural problem in that locker room? Because, if it's all the coach's fault, guess what? They go on a winning streak. What was that?
Yeah, I said now the coach is gone and they didn't change.
Right. And so you bring in Dennis Allen, who is a old school defensive coordinator. He has a very impressive resume. He's a top 5 defensive play caller, and he's not going to take crap when he's built a Denver defense that went on to win the Super Bowl in 2015, because people forget that he was the one that started that whole thing in 2011, working with John Fox. That was the Tim Tebow year that he was there. And then with the Saints, the years that they nearly went to the Super Bowl in the late 2010s. So he knows what he's doing. And this team, as much as they need a new head coach, they also need a different attitude and a different cultural shift for their players too. And I'm glad to hear that the players, as of right now, are buying in. I want to see what they do. What Dhruv said earlier, what do you do when you're losing? But as of right now, I like what I'm seeing.
Dhruv, how are you for time, my friend?
Got about 15 minutes.
Okay, good. We might even be done by then. So, your thoughts on what we've been talking about?
No, I agree with Stevie. I love. I just love this coaching staff, man. It's so well put together. They have so many respected minds. I like the mix. I like that, when Ben Johnson said that, hey, I didn't hire a bunch of my friends. I just kind of, put together the best minds I could find and people that know how to teach and get to the detailed levels and plan. And, he's talked obviously himself. We already know this, but he's mentioned himself a few times in a few different ways about how, fit for purpose game plans and designs and scheme and game planning, all this stuff matters. And how you have to be unpredictable on a week-to-week basis because, 1 week you're facing the Packers, who have a pretty nice defensive line, but then the next week you might be facing a shitty defensive line but a great secondary. So like, how do you tailor your attack? Like, those are all important things. Same with Dennis Allen. Like, he has obviously a style. Stevie mentioned, the signing of Dio Dengbo, and maybe I'm not the biggest fan necessarily of how the pass rush is put together because they don't really have a speed element off the edge other than Austin Booker, who hopefully is big. But even if Dennis Allen has a type, and the way he likes to play, he still mixes things up. He's creative, and this is the kind of stuff that I want from a coaching staff. Can adjust, tries different things. They just haven't had since. I mean, even parts of. Forever. Like, they just haven't had it forever. So I'm excited about it. And honestly, this is obviously we're on quarterback health watch, right? I mean, Justin Fields had a scare today. It sounds like he'll be okay, thankfully, in New York.
He dislocated a toe.
Oof.
Yeah. Look, long term, at least, it's not like an Achilles or something like that. But,
No.
But we're on quarterback, health watch, because in most cases, if your quarterback goes down, your season's nuked, and that's the case for the Bears too. But if something were to happen to Caleb Williams and he had to miss some time, I wouldn't think it's a doomed season as much as I probably would be usually, because this coaching staff is so seemingly great. So I don't know. I'm just very excited, and the best part is Ben Johnson. No one can take him away from us. Like, that's the best part. He's the head coach. He ain't going anywhere. So I don't know. Obviously, like we talked about it. Like, we'll see what happens when they start losing games, but there is such comfort in where they are right now in terms of coaching and being in good hands.
Yep.
Here's hoping that the Caleb Williams Ben Johnson marriage lasts 15 years.
Yeah.
Well, they did. They talked about Brady. Ben Johnson talked about Brady and Belichick today, didn't he? He talked about how he wanted to run that style of offense.
I didn't hear it.
Not the offense. He talked about how he wanted to remain flexible in terms of attacking and unpredictable in terms of weekly game planning. That was his point. Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that.
I remember, back in the day with Belichick and Brady, literally would say, I don't care if 1 week we have to run 40 times to win the game, and the following week we have to pass the ball 40 times to win a game. Whatever the defense, whatever their weakness is, we're going to exploit it. And I like that way of thinking. Well,
the prime example of that was the 2010 matchup between the Bears and the Patriots in the blizzard. The whole the hours leading up to. I'm dead serious. You go back and watch that game. Leading up to that game, everyone thought it was going to be a defensive battle, especially with the blizzard. They thought, hey, you know what? This game's going to be over in 2 hours because it's going to be nothing but running plays, especially from the Patriots. And what did the Patriots do? It was either, hey, we're going to throw a screen pass, or Brady's going to throw a 20-yard in route. And the Bears had no idea to stop it until they were down by 30 points already.
Yeah, it
was like
that's
30 points, and
Go ahead, Dhruv.
I was going to say, I mean, they were down 30 points, and Tom Brady had 4 touchdowns at halftime. Like,
In fact, I was just going to say that second quarter, I believe the Patriots had 31 points by halftime, and 2 of those touchdowns were in the last 3 minutes before halftime.
Well, they had a 65-yard touchdown pass where they caught the Bears napping with 10 seconds left too.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
It's funny. I kind of bringing back memories. Like, I think as time has gone on, my respect, not to say respect level, but my assignment of credit for how much Brady gets versus how much Belichick gets has definitely leaned even further and further more towards Brady. But that game in Buffalo a few years ago where Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times, they ran the ball 70 times and won 14-10 on the road in that windy game. That was prime. Just
that's what great coaches do, though.
It was awesome. So much fun.
Absolutely. Anything else that we want to talk about for this this preseason so far before we get into taking a look at the 2025 schedule?
One thing I will bring up that the Bears and Bears fans need to keep an eye on is the situation in Cincinnati with Trey Hendrickson. That situation is not getting resolved anytime soon. And if we get into 2 weeks from now where Hendrickson's missing preseason games, we could be looking at a repeat of the Khalil Mack situation where the Bengals are trying to get something for him. And whether it's, I would love it for the Bears to go after him if he's there and they can work out a short-term contract. He's only looking for something, guaranteed money after the first year, and he's not looking for a super crazy deal. Ryan Poles, the most brilliant thing Ryan Poles has done this offseason in getting veterans in here, especially on the offensive line, is setting them up to become free agents come time to re-sign Caleb Williams if he turns out to be the elite quarterback that everyone expects him to be. I would not be surprised if you're able to negotiate a trade for Trey Hendrickson, you explain the situation, and he says, yeah, I just want something more than just 1 year, guaranteed money for 1 year. So we have to keep an eye on that because there is history with Dennis Allen, and Ryan Poles. I could see him if it's there for the taking. You have if you're able to pair Trey Hendrickson with Montez Sweat, that gives you a top 5 defensive end pass rush duo that would jettison this team to a playoff contender immediately.
Absolutely. I like that line of thinking. I think it is definitely something we need to look at, or at least be cognizant of, because we do know that Ryan Poles is never asleep at the wheel when it comes to adding talent to this team. We might not agree with everything he does, but unfortunately, we live in a salary cap world in the NFL, and you can't spend every last dollar on every single player that comes out. The kid from the Raiders, our good pal
Wilkins, I believe.
Nick Brody from Just Another Year is already on X saying, should the Bears go after him? No, he's injured. Forget about it. But it doesn't matter. Anytime a player of note gets cut or is a free agent or whatever the case may be, there is he's like the Eric Lambert of YouTube, because every damn rumor, and God love Eric. I'm not picking him, but he gets stories out so quick about the most innocent of rumors out there. That's why Chris pays him what he pays him. So God love him. But no, there is not every player that's available in free agency or maybe a trade candidate is a good fit for the Chicago Bears. Enough said.
What about Trey Hendrickson? I mean, the proof's there, the history's there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So for every point, there's always a counterpoint, right?
It's just one of those things though where the Bengals are just so dumb. Like he's such a good player. Your first round pick just walked out on you. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, come on.
Hey, I agree with you, but hey, if they're not going to resolve it, they're not going to resolve it. Then one man,
I know.
Yeah.
At this point, just keep him away from the Packers, keep him away from the Lions. Just literally trade for him and stash him on the bench if you have to. Just don't let.
But that's how it happened that's how the Khalil Mack trade happened, because the week leading up to Labor Day weekend, it was Max going to the Packers, and then Ryan Pace stepped in, and everyone woke up like it was Christmas morning when they traded for him.
I was sitting at work on a Saturday afternoon in my office at a Toyota store when that trade news came down, and I swear to God, people came running saying, "What's wrong?" I started screaming in my office. But hey, the Bears have to have a schedule out. We went over this once before when the schedule first came out back in May. But last year the Bears did not play a division opponent until week 11. So from they played six of their last 8 games against the NFC North. But we start off with 2 right out the chute, a home game against Minnesota and a game on the road in Detroit. At least we don't have to play on Thanksgiving. We'll start there, guys. Dhruv, I know we're getting pretty close up against your clock, so I'm going to let you go first with these first 2 games.
Yeah, obviously a very exciting way to start. Being the only game on Monday night for Ben Johnson's first game as head coach, going against a elite head coach Kevin O'Connell. The hometown kid, JJ McCarthy, comes to Soldier Field for his first start. A lot of cool storylines. The last game of week 1, it'll be a lot of fun, but you can't lose that game, man. You just cannot lose that game. For so many reasons, you can't lose that game. Week 2, you go to Detroit. Obviously, I expect them to be a little bit weaker given the coordinator changes, but it's a good team. They play hard. Aiden Hutchinson's back, and weird shit happens early in the season on the road. I could imagine losing that game, but they got to come out of this 1-1, and frankly, they have to win the Minnesota game. You just can't lose that game. You just can't. And realistically, I expect them to be competing for tiebreakers more with the Vikings than they are the Lions. So, I mean, that's why it's going to be more important. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, look, I felt the backloading of divisional games last season was not as. I mean, it didn't matter at the end of it by the time they started playing their division, which was unfortunate. But I do prefer starting the season with some spice, and those divisional games will provide it. So it's a tough schedule. Don't get me wrong. It's a very tough schedule, regardless of there's some cookies in there, but or cupcakes I should say. But otherwise,
cupcakes. There's.
I love them both.
Because they're. I swear to God, they're not. I will bet my life that they will not lose 10 straight this year.
No.
if okay, yeah, there's just no right. There can't be. It can't be possible.
If they lose 10 straight, then the Bears would probably have to fire Ryan Poles less than a year into that contract extension, unfortunately. Because if you have back-to-back, yeah.
Okay.
And Caleb Williams.
I 100% agree with Dhruv that there's no way, shape, or form that the Bears can come out of week 1 0-1. They have to win that game against Minnesota.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, what I hold on to for week 1 is JJ McCarthy is going to be making his NFL debut. As a rookie quarterback, he's going to have hiccups. But guess what? The Bears are going to have hiccups too with a brand new offensive scheme, brand new head coach, brand new defense. Stuff like this happens where there's a bust in coverage that, and the Bears are notoriously over the last 10 years good at having bust in coverage when the game is on the line. We can look through the John Fox era. We saw it last year with Matt Eberflus against the Packers game where Jalen Johnson falls down. It happens. And that being said,
Green Bay game in what was it, 13 or 14, when whoever won that game won the division and the busted coverage.
Yeah.
2016, where
you can go all the way back
all
to
I'm
the
saying is
Super Bowl in 2006 when Danielle Manning was the only person playing one defense and the other 10 were playing a different defense, and they let a guy get
Reggie Wayne.
But
here's why it's important. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think it was lagging. Here's why it's more important. he lost in the worst way possible to Jaden Daniels last year. Caleb Williams, we're talking about. He lost to Drake May at home. You can't lose to JJ McCarthy at home in your first matchup against him either. You just can't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying though is like for all the intangibles reasons why you want to win, but I'm looking at more as in like the Vikings are a better team right now. It just based off of what transpired last year, they are, and they have continuity outside of
better coaching.
Yeah, and so like that's why I'm like, yeah, the Bears need to win this game, but is it a likely chance? Like, is a foregone conclusion that they will win it? I'm 50-50 on it. I don't want to be 50-50. I have more faith that they could possibly win they fare better against the Lions the following week than the Vikings because Ben Johnson knows that defense. He knows how Dan Campbell operates. The Lions basically outside of Campbell have new systems coming in on offense and defense because they've lost both coordinators. So they're already losing key defensive players because they lost the defensive tackle earlier this week for the year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Detroit game is going to be fun. The Minnesota game, I think you're going to have 60,000 people sitting on pins and needles at Soldier Field that Monday night. It's bad enough that we've waited for 9 months since the last game was played. And now we have to go through the entire opening weekend and wait until Monday night to finally get to our game. But it should be a lot of fun. Let's talk about Caleb Williams for a minute because Caleb didn't deserve to lose 10 in a row. He had some amazing comebacks in the second halves of games last year. The Washington game was one. The first Green Bay game in week 11 was another. He looked his game in England against Jacksonville was stupendous, except for the one game ball that got away and was intercepted when they should have scored another touchdown there. They were 1-5, just like the Green Bay Packers were in the NFC North. The NFC Green Bay, I don't know. I think we talked about this on our chat room. Green Bay got a fingertip on Cairo Santos' ball in Week 11, and otherwise, Caleb wins that game.
Yeah, he has two game-winning drives against the Packers, which would be enough to build a statue out front of Soldier Field for him.
Yeah. We don't care what the Bears do as long as they beat the Packers twice, right? How many Bears fans do you know, by a show of hands, that will say that? I remember back in 2001, Bears were 13-3, they got beat in the playoffs at home. I want to say it was by Philadelphia or by Carolina.
Yep. It was by Philadelphia.
And I think they lost Washington that year.
No, they lost
Green Bay twice, and people were pissed that they were 13-3. But Jesus Christ, Green Bay also was 1-5 in the division last year, and they were that fingertip away from being 0-6. And who wouldn't have loved to see the Green Bay Packers go 0-6 in the NFC North last year?
I know a few people that probably didn't want to see that, but my best friend and the girl I'm dating right now, because she's a Packer fan. So,
hey, I've been in a mixed marriage. My wife is from a Packer fan family, so it is what it is. You when you start dating somebody and and you kind of fall in love. You don't ask them, oh, by the way, are you a Packers fan or a Bears fan? It just, but all kidding aside, and I tell my wife this, she's a Packer fan through family, because when we met 26 years ago, when we met, I swear to God, she didn't know a first down from a touchdown. But she sits down here and watches games with me, because we'll put on, if the Packers are on, we'll watch the Packers down here, and I've got my super box that I keep telling you guys about. I have another TV that I bring into the room so I can watch 2 games at one time. And living where I do, I'm in the Madison, Wisconsin TV area. So if the Packers and the Bears are playing on the same network at the same time, I'm going to get the Packer game here in Monroe, Wisconsin. So I bring in my TV, and I can watch both games at the same time, and I did it repeatedly last year. So I enjoy it. BuySuperbox.com is a free plug, because I do not get paid for endorsing that. But if you don't have one, get one, and I promise you will not regret it.
Sounds good.
So, Dhruv, are you okay for time still? You got about 5 more minutes?
I'm 5 minutes late, but that's okay. That's all right.
Okay. All right. Games weeks 3 and 4. They have to go to Dallas.
The other way around.
They have. Am I seeing that right? Week 3.
They have the Cowboys at home, and then they go to Vegas to play the Raiders, and then the bye week followed by the Commanders. Commanders on the road on Monday night.
Yep.
So, all right, Stevie, I think Dallas is a winnable game. I really do. I don't think
it's a winnable.
They went down to Dallas a couple of years ago and got destroyed, and there was a game. Was it Micah Parsons that got a fumble? Yep. And literally the guy on the offense jumped over him.
Justin Fields.
And he got up and ran for a touchdown. And was that embarrassing.
It's okay. Flus is calling their defense now. It's a revenge game. So he's probably going to drop Parsons in coverage.
Right. But so what I'll say, where you said the Vikings game has to be a win game because of the intangibles, I feel that way about the Dallas game, because if you're Ben Johnson, you cannot let that Dallas defense come in and kick your ass. And people don't realize this, but Matt Eberflus somewhat has Ben Johnson's number, because back in 2023, he shut down that Detroit offense for all but 2 minutes of the 2 games that they played. And then last year, in the Thanksgiving game, people forget that Detroit got off to a hot start. They went up 16-0. The only touchdown they scored,
it should have. I mean, they held them to like 2 or 3 field goals in that, in that stretch, which really should have been touchdowns. They just stalled in the red zone. So Bears really did get lucky. Plus a fumble at the goal line too.
But in the Thanksgiving game, that only touchdown that they scored that was the difference maker in the second half, the drive was. It got extended on when the Bears stopped them on 3rd down, and there was a personal foul call on the Bears that extended the drive for a touchdown. Other than that, Matt Eberflus has done a really good job. Other than those 2 minutes where they blew the game in Detroit in 2023, he's done a really good job shutting down Ben Johnson. And if Dallas comes in and the Bears are 1-1 or God forbid 0-2, and then that defense lays it on you, the city's going to burn down. I'm dead serious.
You're 100% correct.
Sure will.
So I swear to God, there'll be flames shooting up in Lake Michigan. That it'll be so bad.
That's the game you have to win, especially if you're Ben Johnson, because you cannot let Matt Eberflus come in here and put on a defensive clinic against your offense, because you all left the offseason, you were the offensive guy that the league was like, hey, this is going to be the next Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, have you got your plane reservation for Vegas yet, Stevie? You had that game circled.
Still working on it. Still working. I hope to have it finalized in the next week, hopefully.
So I wish I could go. I just don't have the budget for it. What about you, Dhruv? Are you gonna make the trek to Vegas? It's a lot closer for you than it is for us.
It is. I won't be there though. I'm in fact, for that game, I'm actually supposed to be on a family trip. Very likely going to be watching that from Spain. So
Well, let's go to a schedule that's a little bit easier to read for me, because that was really bad. So they're at Washington. That's got to be. Caleb Williams has that game circled on his calendar. I swear to God.
He's got that game circled, but for that game, all he has to do is just play well. Do not get outperformed by Jaden. You could lose that game. If Washington blows you out, or not blows you out, but wins in a shootout, but Caleb throws for like 3-4 touchdowns and passes for 300 yards, that's fine. And that's what people forget, that for as great as the Hail Mary throw by Jaden Daniels was, Caleb Williams looked a lot. For as bad as he played in that game, the fact that he led his team back to have a chance to win that game, I thought was more impressive than just winning on a Hail Mary. Because Hail Mary, you just throw it up there, and it's pure luck. He had 3 consecutive drives, or 2 consecutive drives. There was one where the fumble by Kramer on the dumb fullback handoff.
And but then fourth down to DeAndre Swift.
Was there? No, that one was the Colts game. That was the Colts game. But he led that team down after playing like garbage for a majority of the game. That shows a lot of resiliency from a rookie quarterback in a hostile environment with everyone watching, that he was able to get that team in a position to win the game, and the defense just literally let the ball slip through their fingers.
Yeah, it was so unfortunate. Then we have the Saints at home. That's got to be a win.
Yes.
There are so many people out there that are already predicting that the New Orleans Saints are the odds-on favorite to get the first pick in the draft. That's how poorly they're looked upon by people around the league.
That Saints fire sale at the trade deadline is going to be a fun thing to watch.
And then we have to go to the AFC on the road against Baltimore and Cincinnati. That's a tough part of the schedule right there, my guys.
Yes.
Oh yeah. There really isn't a lot of relief in the schedule. I think there's only 2 or 3 games that are all right. The Bears, they got this in the bag, and even one of them is actually not as easy of a game with the Saints. Like, they have a pretty good offensive line. I'm pretty intrigued by Tyler Shuck. Like, you never know. The Browns, that's just literally put 4 guys on Myles Garrett and go win that game. Like, that's all you got to do. That is literally all you got to do.
You got to count for Mason Graham at that point in December too, though.
Fair.
All right.
I mean, the one thing that worries me about that second half of the schedule, other than the Giants game, is that, like you said, Dhruv, there's no relief, and it's almost like every game has its own mental exhaustion from just thinking about it, because you play the Vikings on the road. You don't know how good the Vikings could be at that point. You come home and you play the Steelers for what's going to be Aaron Rodgers' last final game at Soldier Field. So Bears fans are going to be demanding blood for that one. You have the Eagles on Black Friday, so the whole country's going to be watching. You have back-to-back primetime games against the Packers and 49ers. It's just very it's going to be a very mentally taxing second half of that season. for the Bears. And this is where coaching comes in, and coaching matters to get the guys in the right headspace to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but we have to make it more difficult on our opponents.
Absolutely. Dhruv, your thoughts?
No, very much so. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, there's just not a lot of relief in here. You have not even easy stretches. You have an early bye. It's not ideal. But the idea is that this coaching staff should have you much more prepared than you've ever been, and that is half the battle. So
Yeah.
they're better prepared for a schedule like this than they've ever been. But it'll be a tough one, but it'll be a fun season.
It should be fun. Nothing would make me happier than to see. I don't care if they win only 9 games, but make it to the postseason. Great, because it's going to take some time to build this team into what Ben Johnson wants it to be. Defensively, I think they've got an edge with Allen. I think they're going to be ready. I think they'll be ready week 1, and with like you said, Stevie, with Allen being an old school dude, this defense could surprise a lot of people. Andrew Billings, we talked about briefly at the beginning of the show. The Bears were middle of the road against the run at the beginning of the season, and then they were terrible they were absolutely abysmal after Billings went down. So a healthy Billings, Jared in the middle, he's just pumped to be a Bear, and it's going to be great to watch him maybe play even alongside Billings. So there's a lot of things that we can look forward to on the defensive side of the ball, which so many people, unfortunately, are kind of forgetting that, oh, by the way, we've got a defense too, because all of the attention has been on Caleb Williams and the tools surrounding him, be it the offensive line or the tools that he has to get the ball to. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and it starts real soon. We've got the first week.
2 weeks.
We've got our first game in 2 weeks. They play 2 games at home against Miami and who? Forget. It's an
Buffalo Bills. The Miami game will be at 12, and then the Bills game will be a Sunday night game on Fox. That's nationally televised, I believe.
And then their third game is on the road against Kansas City, where we're not going to see anything but 3rd and 4th string players playing anyway, because of the new way, cut down. You don't have to cut down like practically anybody until after that third game. So that'll be a show of reserves against the Kansas City Chiefs. Dhruv, I want to thank you personally for staying late. Any last words from you, and then you can scoot out of here.
No, I'm all set, man. Really excited about training camp being here, and just good to have football back in some capacity.
All right. You have a great night, my friend. Get out of here. Go do what you're supposed to be doing, and tell your wife, if it's your wife, that I'm sorry that you're late.
Always. It always is, man. I'll see you guys. Bye.
All right.
Take care.
Take care, Dhruv.
See you guys.
All righty. Stevie, it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. It's gonna be.
It is. I'm looking forward to it. And the one thing I love about football season is spending time with you and Drew doing this. The one thing I'll say before we go is, and what I wanted to touch on with the draft earlier was with the Colson Loveland pick. Bears fans need to understand that because they're going to be comparing him unfairly to Tyler Warren this entire season. They're going to compare it because they see Tyler Warren as the next Brock Bowers, and It's understandable. You see what he did in Penn State, but it's going to be unfair to do that to Colston Loveland because the two tight ends are going to be doing two different. They have two different types of values to their teams. Colston Loveland, he isn't going to be as productive from a stat sheet standpoint as Tyler Warren. But what I will say is, if you want to see how good Colston Loveland is, watch the All-22s this year. Watch him after every game, because that's where he's really going to show up, whether it be run blocking, whether it be route running, whether it be getting guys open because he's running his routes right. That frees up someone over the middle for Caleb, or vice versa. He gets open, and his versatility allows so much more flexibility in this offense that it's more fluid. Because I guarantee you, by midseason, yeah, Tyler Warren's going to have a better statistical 2025, but Colston Loveland is going to be more valuable to the Bears, given where the Bears are at compared to where the Colts are at with their offensive personnel.
All right. We'll have to do this again, probably after the after the Kansas City game. The way they've done things now is there's a bye week between the third preseason game and the first regular season game. Didn't used to be that way. I think it changed. They changed that about 2 years ago.
So it used to be where.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it used to be that fourth preseason game would always be the Thursday leading into Labor Day weekend, and then a week later, a week after that Thursday would be the kickoff game. But now you have a full, basically 2 weeks in between.
Yep, that bye week. I like it. I like it. I like the fact that they keep. They don't have to cut anybody until after that third preseason game. And then they've got a week to prepare,
sort it all out. Yeah.
This is completely off topic, but I can see a time soon that the 55 or 53 man roster, we're all 53 dress.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think the way a lot of stuff that the NFL did from a roster standpoint is traditionally is slowly going away, and a lot of it makes sense for it to go away. I never liked the QB rule where it was if you have a third string quarterback that comes in, or the emergency third string quarterback, if he comes in before the fourth quarter, then he has to finish the game, or whatever that goofy rule was. I'm glad they did away with it, where you could dress the third string quarterback and not count against the roster, because the NFL realized that having a wide receiver, running back play quarterback in an emergency situation
They just asked the 49ers about quarterbacks. If you remember when Purdy got injured in the playoffs,
or in COVID that year where the Broncos lost both their quarterbacks the night before, and they had to start a special teams gunner at quarterback, and it was basically a scrimmage for the Saints that day.
Yeah. All right, my friend. We'll see you in the chat room, and go Bears.
Go Bears.
All right. Have a great night.
Take care.
All righty. That was Stevie Push, Dhruv Cole. Dhruv Cole writes for Sports Mockery, which is where I met him. Stevie Push used to work for Sports Mockery, and we all met in the Sports Mockery Bears chat room. And we have continued our friendship, and we have a lot of fun on this show. I want to thank everybody for joining in. I wish there would have been a lot more comments from those watching today, but a lot of the people are watching from my Twitter channel at Texter420. So I want to thank you guys for hopping on and watching the show on Twitter. We're also broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. So appreciate you guys for joining in. We'll talk to you right after the Kansas City game in about 4 weeks from now. And until then, bear down. Thanks, everybody.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of TixBlitz?
Who?
TixBlitz. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TixBlitz.com today. TixBlitz.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TixBlitz.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.